Recently I saw a video by the Legal Lockpicker about bank bags, and that got me thinking, well, I'd like to take a look at a couple of those. First off, I think we should talk a little bit about the context in which these are used. They're not meant to be high physical security. This is largely for, really it's largely for tamper evidence when you have a chain of custody. I can put some stuff in here, lock it up if I'm a cashier or something, and then hand it off to the shift manager who's going to put it in the safe, and later it's counted by somebody. And if anybody along the way has decided to get themselves a little bonus, that should be evident because they'll have had to bypass the zipper or cut it or do something like that, right? So I don't think it's fair to treat them as whether or not they're cut resistant or anything, because that's just really not what they're meant for. Anybody with a pair of safety ducky scissors and a will to do so could probably defeat these. So the point is, can we get into them covertly or surreptitiously? This one, I'll go in order from worst to best, from the 3 or 4, however you want to count it, I'm looking at. This was a generic one called an Eagle. You can see it doesn't have a lot of branding on it or anything like that. It's a 5-pin wafer lock. They're all key retaining, and I left this one open as evidence that I did in fact get this open. I single wafer picked it, but this one actually gave me a lot of trouble. Maybe because I've never picked a proper wafer lock before, but really this one, at least in my hands, had the highest pick resistance. There's nothing obvious going on here about no holes that I can tell, but then when I went to dig deeper into it, we'll just show you how these work real quick. This one feels very cheap in construction, but I didn't count that against it. Okay. Again, 6-pin wafer lock, not particularly great bitting or anything. One could think this would be raked fairly easily. It goes like this. It's key retaining. You unzip it. But when I went to investigate it, the screw just popped right out. Right? And then I saw this is held by was probably a wood screw that they hoped was self-tapping into this little hole here. And then there's a very flimsy piece of what I'm guessing is aluminum that's holding that all together. So if I just stuffed some cash in there, oh boy. Counted down my register or whatever at the end of the night. Got that. I tried wiggling these keys out there. All the bags were pretty good about that. But I could probably get some tweezers. I don't know how well this is going to work right now. Maybe if I had a little flashlight or something. I don't know if you can see. I can't see, but if I were supposing I was a thief, I should have practiced this for sure. Might take some positioning in order not to waste a huge amount of time. I'm gonna go ahead and position those. Oh, there. They're about where they need to be. Let me flip that upside down. Because I'm not gonna take all that time on video to mess with it like that. Well, perhaps I will just be a very unsuccessful thief today. Oh Oh, I see them. I see the monies. Alright, and if I were a more determined thief, I could probably finagle that out of there. I'm gonna go ahead and be determined. Whoop. Alright, it's starting to rip, but anyway, you get the idea. So, the fact that all of that fails pretty easily is a sign that this is a very low quality bag and could, at least in theory, be pilfered for its monies and secret documents. So, just garbage. A step above that is this drawstring canvas bag with a big $sign on it. Alright. Following that is the one actually reviewed by Legal Lockpicker. Seems to have a 7-pin tumbler lock. He saw a gap somewhere in this window, and I don't have that. I think you could make one, and it was important because that led to a way to get in. From here, he also managed to squeeze some pliers in, but I think it would be really hard to actually get some money out if you squeeze that open. When I saw that this was a 7-pin tumbler, I thought, well, obviously this is an opportunity for them to put in something like their lockout tagout core. I need to be camera shy. Nope. So yes, it's a 7-pin tumbler lock, but it's very easily rakeable. It's not hard to single pin pick. There's no security pins in there. Sure, 7 pins, but you know, what good do they do? Then it's just held together with this little cheesy clip there. And at the top of the list, got this MMF Industries 7-pin. You can tell these guys are sort of one's copying the other in some way or shape or form. I mean, they're textured doodads. Oh, the thing I forgot to point out about the master lock and why it was ranked lower is there's this big gaping hole here. So if somebody were to defeat somewhere in this window, you would have easy access inside the bag, and it would be hard to tell because you wouldn't have to defeat the lining of the bag. There's tons of stitching here and all kinds of opportunity to disguise something. So this bag's a little different. Still has a single 7-pin pin tumbler core. It's not particularly impressive. This one, I think, is intended to be a counterfeit of this MMF, which is, I think, a very popular brand. Now, I have not had so much luck raking this one. But if you just go down the pin stack, It's just going down the pin stack over and over again. It wasn't hard, so I think it's rakeable. I'm just not that great at raking. I will say that it's got a much more substantial aluminum shield around the actual lock itself. So I think it would be very hard to sneak into this thing, other than obviously picking this crummy lock. So there it goes. In order of security, the best one I found of these was the MMF, followed by the Master, which wasn't great, but not that bad. This drawstring canvas sack with a big dollar sign on it, and this generic Eagle piece of garbage. So there it is.